Hello, good afternoon. We're going to get into Omni-channel this afternoon. If we think about our customers, they're taking 17 touch points to get to the point where they convert for one of our products. And that goes up because there's post-sales, and then you want them to come back. So there's more next time they come. And as the consideration gets higher for products by price or by complexity, then that goes up again. So those touch points are absolutely critical. They essentially drive your business. The point at which your customers meet a product, determine how aware of your products your customers or potential customers are, how they find the right customer for them on your site, how they have the confidence to buy, and then because their expectations have at least been met, that they come back and shop with you again. But we can, and I use the phrase site there, so you can get quite caught up with taking a view of this from an e-commerce perspective. You know, we've got metrics around conversion and dropout, and so you can see it, and invariably the UX and the UI designer sit in the e-com team. But our customers live in the real world and the physical world. So from a customer's perspective, it's about physical touch points and digital touch points. So that's what we're gonna get into with these guys. Now, we spend about a third of our life in bed. My teenager over-indexes for the rest of us. And therefore, the bed you have, the mattress you have, is one of the most important buying decisions you'll make, and that's what these guys spend quite a lot of their time focusing on. So Graham joins us from Bensons. Do you want to introduce yourself, Graham?
Yeah, hi. So first of all, thank you for having us.
Cool.
I'm Director of Digital and Omni-channel. I think I hopefully didn't get the dodgy mic, but I'm Director of Digital and Omni-channel at Bensons. Been there for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, Sofology doing a very similar role. So sort of 5 years, so experience in kind of what we would call kind of a considered purchase market, which brings its own challenges compared to something that's a bit more frequent and a bit more sort of fast fashion type thing.
Great. Cheers, Graham. And Pete joins us from Space 48.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Pete. So Space 48 are a digital commerce agency in the UK. We work with Bensons on their sort of digital transformation. We look after their website for them, and we did their PIM project for them. I'm ex-retail as well, so I spent 14 years on omni-channel retail with physical stores and online. So hopefully between the two of us, we can probably add a bit of value to this conversation today. You definitely. I'll just pop the stage.
No, I'm sure it'll be good. Cheers, guys. So what we do is get the expertise of these guys around Bensons as a case study, but then towards the end, we'll open it up and talk a bit more about how that's translatable to all your businesses. It's always good to start with the customer, so we'll start there. Personally, as a beds customer, I think in my lifetime I've bought one bed and 2 or 3 mattresses. So this is the longest conversation I've had about buying a bed in years. Graham, do you want to give us a bit of a sense of who your customers are before we get into your business?
Yeah, so from a customer perspective, I mean, obviously we're a nationwide business. If people are thinking about buying a mattress, typically they will either go to a Dreams or they'll go to a Bensons for beds because they're generally next to each other on the retail park. And we know that from our own research that customers, when they come on the retail park, they will go in every single brand on there because they want to compare and want to have a look at the different options and choice. I think if you think about what's critical in our market, we would talk about 3 key outcomes from a customer perspective. So we would recognise that this is an infrequent purchase. I mean, the general stat is that you buy a mattress every 7 to 8 years. We probably think that's a little bit less because you've got spare rooms, you've got kids' rooms, you've got different needs and wants. But equally, because it is that infrequent, technology changes. You don't know what you're looking for. You need to be educated again every time you come into the market to buy a new product. So we need to ensure that our content and our product information is of the top quality and is going to help guide those customers to the right choice. I think then we would talk about this as it's a subjective purchase, and by that I mean comfort is something that to Pete, a firm mattress might be soft to me, might be middling to Angus. So therefore, we need the store experience to be kind of central to what we do, and therefore we need to optimize around how do we ensure our customers are trying and experiencing the product in a physical environment. And so we're very much a colleague-first business in that regard. And then finally, it's high risk, right? So both high risk from a monetary point of view. These things, they're not cheap. They're over £1,000 in most cases. They also take a little while to come, right? Which comes with its own risks. So if you're ordering something for Amazon and it comes the next day, if you get it wrong, you can order another one and you can have it within 2 days, right? Whereas if you're buying a mattress that's on a 4-week lead time or a 6-week lead time, and it gets to the point where it's about to be put through your door and it won't fit, that's both a costly issue, but it's also very much an inconvenience because you likely need that product to be in your house so that you can sleep on it. So we would talk about those as the 3 kind of key outcomes for our customers. And obviously then what we try and do is we try and build everything and all our buying journeys around those as principles.
Yeah, and you've got, yeah, like you said, a lot of information the customer's trying to get their head around that they've not seen for a few years, and that could be blockers if they can't understand it. So part of your role is to kind of solve those for your customers. Do you want to give us a quick introduction to Bensons and the Bensons story as to where you come from?
Yeah, so I don't know how many of you are aware, but Bensons used to be part of a bigger group. So there used to be Bensons, and for those of you who remember Harvey's from the retail park, Harvey's used to be part of the same family. Just sort of pre-COVID, kind of COVID time, just a little bit before my time at the business, there was an administration, which meant that Harvey's unfortunately went out of business, but Bensons was bought back with a view that actually the Bensons business was the profitable side of the group. And then COVID came, right? So then everything kind of went into lockdown, and there's a lot more, even more uncertainty around it. Coming out the back of that, we've been on a bit of a growth story. So that comes in a couple of folds. Number one, we're a national retailer, so therefore we need national scale. And how do we go about kind of gaining that and recovering some of those opportunities that we lost as a result of the administration and the Harvey's business sort of going under. But then equally digitally, right? So because the business was then bought out, the Bensons needed to spin up a website pretty damn quickly to capitalize on COVID and to make sure that they were able to trade through that rough period. And that led us to effectively a BigCommerce back-end website with Shogun, Clayvu, and then we had an on-prem PIM system that was kind of sat behind it. But it was a brilliant job by the team to get that up and running quickly. But we're now at a place where actually we need to start thinking a bit more longer term and a bit more strategic about how we come out the back of that. Hence the reason why we're working with Space 48, and also the reason why we've moved and switched to Akenio more recently.
Cool. And from a product perspective, you've got a number of components of the product. Do you want to talk us through those?
Yeah, so look, we sell multiple categories. So look, majority of people buy a mattress from us. The mix of what they buy differs online and in store. But we sell basically mattresses, we sell bed frames or divan bases, or as we're now trying to just refer to them as beds. And then we sell pillows and softs and the accompanying products. Now, the challenge with having a catalogue like that is that actually they all deserve their own kind of rich sort of enhancements. And when you're buying a mattress, there are multiple different types that have lots of different constructions. That some are great for side sleepers, some are great for people who are hot when they sleep. Some are great for people who've got sports injuries or ailments that they need to sort of not cure, but need to kind of deal with. So we have a real job on our hands around how we kind of enrich our products and ensure by category that actually we're giving the customers the information they need to be able to refine down and get to the product.
Okay. And if we now start looking at channels, come back to the kind of omni-channel conversation, each of those customers, like you say, has got a different need, a health need or whatever it might be, and therefore no two customers are going to have the same journey to you and journey to purchase. But there's some commonality to what they're expecting in each channel they're in. You've got an Airbnb kind of metaphor. You want to share that with us?
Yeah, sure. So you walk into a bed retailer and it's just a sea of white, because that's what colour mattresses are, and it's just very boring. And actually, it's really confusing and really kind of overwhelming. And I always liken it to kind of Airbnb, right? So if I'm looking for a weekend away in London and I search, I might get back 10,000 properties, right? I then decide that search was too broad. Therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to refine down my location. I'm going to say, actually, I want to be in the West End. So then that 10,000 then filters down to sort of, let's just use 1,000 as an example. It's then, my job then is, right, what specifics am I looking for, right? So am I looking for something that is close to a restaurant or something that's got 3 bedrooms? And I really start to get a bit more granular until eventually there's a handoff, which is I've got down to probably 10 properties that I'm really interested in, and then I'm going to deep dive into them. And the way I relate that to beds is that we use the website, or customers use the website to get that kind of 10,000 down to kind of, let's just say 100. And then the idea is that then we try and get those customers to go into our store where they can experience and get that expert guidance from one of our sleep consultants. And, therefore then they end up with the right product. I think we did some customer research a little while ago, and one of the quotes stuck with me. And it's the customer said, "My mum always used to say, buy the best mattress you can afford and the best pair of shoes, because if you're not in one, you'll be in the other." So it's so for us, it's our job is to try and make sure that we find the best mattress for our customers. And again, back to the point about channel, we do that by trying to get as many of our customers into store as one.
Okay. Okay, we'll come to stores. I think if we work through kind of your channels, it'd be good to do a bit of a deeper dive.
Yeah.
So from an online perspective, online is about, your online is about research and
Yep.
customers narrowing down. So how are you using product experience there?
So first and foremost, we need to ensure that all of our products have the right attributes that people are searching for, and we need to make sure that there's consistency there, right? And it can be as simple as making sure we're using the right units of measure and things like that. But equally, we need to add in, whether that's lifestyle imagery, we need to ensure that there's product reviews on each product, and we need to make sure that there's just that general kind of Bible of information that a customer needs in order to perform that refining. And then I think it's about how we then surface some of that stuff through navigation, right? So and we might talk about this a little bit in a minute, but one of the things that we've done is, we know that from a furniture perspective, people more like to buy it when there's like a buy one, get one free or a half price promotion on it because it's expensive, and that seems to move the needle. So, using pre-canned facets to be able to kind of create links in our navigation or hot links throughout the site to get people to those kind of almost pre-built categories is really powerful for us. And we know that in our space, customers shop. I would say we're one of the only businesses that you can actually go in and negotiate with, and that just shows how important a deal and an offer is to our customers. So yeah, from our perspective, it's about making sure that we've got really solid content standards, whether that's for a good product, a best product, or a better product, and then making sure that there's real consistency across categories in terms of how they present it.
Okay. And you've got a way that talked about the physical nature of a bed. Does it fit me? How firm is it? You've got a way of customers dialing up to the stores to find out about that as well.
So one of the, and again, actually, it's a good example of how no two customers are the same, right? And every customer has different needs. So we have a capability on the website which is video calling. It's kind of came around in COVID. Everyone jumped on it. Probably more familiar with it on Currys because they talk about it in their TV ads. But effectively, you can browse the website, and you can literally 2 clicks. You can be connected directly into a store colleague who can then demo with a little selfie stick and a mobile phone. They can go around and they can show you the products. And it's a really one of the big questions we get asked. It was the same with sofas. Is I'm 6 foot. How big a bed do I need? Right. So if you've got a 6 foot sales consultant and they lay on a bed, you can relatively in your head work out that, hang on, if that person's 6 foot and their feet are sticking over the edge, maybe I need a different mattress. So it's a real great way for us to help customers explore product in a world where actually, like I say, the physical experience is key. But if you can't get to the physical experience, how can we bring that to you digitally? And video calling is one of the ways in which we solve the problem.
That's similar to the fashion example, though, where a lot of fashion sites now will show you the size of the model, right?
Yeah.
Because to give you relatively sizing, so
Yeah.
you're just doing that in more
Exactly.
actual physical environment. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of accepting the constraints of a channel, but working around how can you get over that. I was curious. You said about how you're keen to drive customers into store because I guess that's a differentiator from your online only competitors. They don't have that advantage, but there's also that online. There's always that desire to kind of push people through the funnel and get them to check out. But you're quite happy to move them into store where you do assisted sales. So how do you increase the value of customers when they use your stores?
So again, having that consistent experience, it doesn't have to be the same experience, but having that consistent experience between channels. So when that's information that you see on the website, when you walk into a store, being able to find the same information on a ticket in front of the product, or when the sales colleague is kind of talking to you, making sure that they're using the same language that is used, and even actually using the website on their iPads to kind of show and say, well, this is kind of what you see, is incredibly powerful. And it helps us create attachment opportunities, which again helps drive our AOV. But equally, it helps build trust with the retailer because ultimately people buy from people that they trust, right? So we need to kind of try and build those relationships between colleague and customer. And part of that is having content and having, assets in the clinical word that kind of support that and enable that to be true.
I can give a real
Yeah.
about that. So I'm a Bensons customer. So a couple of years ago, when we onboarded Bensons, I naturally hit Graham up some discount. But I did my research online, found what I thought I wanted. Again, I wasn't entirely sure, but I narrowed it down to a subset like you mentioned. Got into store, and actually, again, the journey was consistent, but I got upsold really well. So your sales guy could take me from, I was basically going after a cheap product, basically. And then the sales guy in store gave me that knowledge, that insight. Actually, well, how do you sleep? Do you sleep on your side? Do you sleep on your back? And actually trying to get that across online is actually quite
Really
difficult.
difficult.
There's amazing means of doing it with product data and content, but actually you need somebody there to kind of do that assisted sale.
Yep.
And in the end, I spent way more than I planned on doing, but I can tell you now that it's the best thing I ever did was buy the mattress, and I'm not just plugging you guys, but it makes such a difference. Don't be cheap on them.
Yeah.
Given the opportunity to really increase the knowledge and the value of the guys who are at the store, they're not stock managers. They're genuinely engaging with your customers and building those relationships.
Yep.
And then you've got that critical post-sales phase where you say a bed could take 4 weeks to arrive. So the deal's been done, but you've still got some risks and opportunities that they could cancel. They could add something else to their basket post-sale. How do you manage that sort of further piece?
So one of the first things we did when I joined the business was we looked at what our post-purchase journey is. When I was at AO.com, John Roberts always used to say that my biggest risk is my drivers. And he meant that because they were the only person, or they were the last person that the customer would see when the product was delivered. So if you have a great experience with that last touch point, then you're more likely to come back and buy again because you can trust the business. And Sofology and Bensons are no different to that, right? It's just that we've got a longer lead time between it. So we have to be clever about how we do it. We can't bombard customers with emails because they don't engage with them and they don't read them. And when we want them to read them, they need to cut through and they need to be understood because there's usually some key information in there. But equally, because we have the great product data that we've now assembled around our products, we're able to use that to kind of really personalize the journey. So for example, if you've bought a Super King mattress, which is a pretty big one, and you live in a small little kind of like dormer bungalow, then chances are it might not go up the stairs, right? So the closest...
It won't go up the stairs in a bungalow.
Yeah. Well, a dormer bungalow has stairs.
Oh, okay.
There you go, see.
Okay.
So the more chance we have to catch that, right? And if we can catch that early, then we can adjust for the customer and we can actually help them get the solution that they need. So, for example, in one of our post-purchase emails, if you have bought a Super King mattress, we dynamically change the content to essentially talk about measuring up, talking about have you checked it will fit, because it's one of the biggest reasons for failure that we have. Equally, if we know that you have the opportunity to buy recycling on a product and you've not purchased recycling, then we have the ability again to personalize that and switch in an upsell block for recycling. And we do that through the fact that we've got the associations created and we've got the product data. And it doesn't stop there. So when you've got a mattress in your house, not many people know that actually, as an example, if you buy one of ours, you've got to leave it, don't put your bedding on it straight away. It's got to breathe. You've got to give it opportunity to breathe and defume. Because one of the complaints we always get is, well, my mattress smells fuming. That's because you didn't let it breathe. So we send emails, sort of, not just emails, text messages, different types of comms, once that product has actually entered the customer's house, just to remind them that, don't forget to spin it. Don't forget to kind of fluff it if you need to fluff it. Don't forget to use the bed bug spray if there's issues and things like that. So we try and ensure that kind of first sort of 3 to 6 months that customer has the product, that they've got all the insight and the information they need in order to be able to kind of get the most out of it, because these things do take time to settle down, so we need to make sure we're doing it.
And back to those points from the keynote, the potential to reduce returns, reduce wasted journeys, and all that good stuff that's coming from that as well. So I guess what we've covered in those channels is there's absolutely critical need for consistency through each of those touch points, but actually the channels have all got quite different roles. Yep. And Pete, you helped Graham's team formulate those experiences. Do you want to talk about how you helped with that?
Yeah, a lot of it was around just doing discovery. I mean, the guys had a PIM previously, and like Graham mentioned, it was kind of like to get online quickly. When we kind of looked at it again, that sort of implementation was very much like an IT-led project. It was very technical. It was very, it didn't really focus too much for me on the kind of the product content and what actual customers need to kind of make a decision. Do you want to grab that? I've got a dodgy mic this time. Yeah, so in terms of when we went through this process of looking at the kind of migration to Akeneo, we looked at we did discovery with like the entire business, not just like the digital team or the IT team, getting customer service involved in conversations, like what are they hearing from customers, what are some of the common questions that they getting asked, to make sure we could surface that content online. Like the delivery stuff, like you mentioned, is really important. So yeah, discovery was really important. We tried to learn from the mistakes we made last time. We also challenged the team, like what does good look like? What does a good experience look like? Put yourself in the shoes of the customer. If you're going to spend, I don't know, $3,000 on a bed and a mattress, what are you going to need to help make that decision? If you are going to go and buy it online, which I don't know how many of those you'll actually sell online, but making sure that customers can make that decision and the content's kind of tailored to, they can understand. Like you said, technology changes, right? So how can we get that information across to them? So what does good look like? We also thought about, again, customers are on different research phases, like you said before. They're very, like, using your Airbnb example, they'll come in looking for, I don't know, a soft mattress because that's what they think they want, and they'll start refining. So we wanted to make sure that the data that we were going to be curating and putting online could cover each. Now, how far you were in your journey, we make sure the content was curated in that way. But again, that was all about understanding what the customer needed, and that lot came from just talking to the teams, the sales guys in the stores. Okay. Honestly, if you're ever going to look at answering questions or looking at product content, what really matters, speak to your sales teams and customer services teams. Like there's so much insight you can glean from them, and that can actually form some of the sort of product content and the product experience you then look to deliver.
Yeah, so not just focusing on the e-com team, not just focusing on the sales team, understanding the full everyone who touches the journey of the customer.
Even operations, like the delivery teams, look at the constant issues they're getting, like what are some of the challenges there, like, you know, trying to deliver a Super King mattress to somebody who's got a bungalow, listen to the feedback you're getting and try and surface that content as much as you can, and again, build experiences around it.
Someone asked me the other day, it's like, how do you measure whether your omni-channel journey is a success? And it's like, well, first of all, there isn't such a thing as an omni-channel journey, it's a buying journey, and every customer's is different, but there are obviously similarities. But I talked about from a metrics perspective, I actually said one of the things that you might want to look at in terms of success is, you know, how successful are you at delivering first time on time, like meeting that customer promise. Conversion's great, but if you don't get that product into the customer's door, they're going to cancel and you're going to have to pay them the money back that they've given you. So things like really focusing on some of those kind of downstream metrics of actually when the customer has the product is a really good way to kind of think about how you structure yourselves in terms of how you're approaching your kind of transformation.
Yeah, the almost definition of a sale. A sale isn't the checkout point; it's the happy customer with a bed in their house point.
Someone who's left a product review is the key.
Cool. So we talked about kind of defining what those experiences are, and all the way along the journey. Pete, you started to touch on kind of taking the data and telling those stories. Do you have some other examples around taking the data and to do that?
I think that one of the biggest things we looked at and what enabled the guys at Bensons to do is, you mentioned this good, better, best concept that we got before. Again, you've got some beds that are at the lower end, some that are at kind of the real premium end. I think the thing that Aquino and PIMS enable them to do is offer or give different product experiences depending on the product type. So like, if you think about the sort of the best range, as you'll call it, you might want to offer a much more in-depth sort of level of content for that. So like using concepts like completeness and Aquino, you can set different levels of requirements for those types of products to make sure that they fully get enriched. To make, you know, if you're going to spend $4 or $5 grand on a better mattress, you've got to have good content there to help sell it. Obviously, the sales teams in the store will help. But for those people that can't get to a store or whatever, they're going to buy online, you need to be able to offer that ultimate product experience. So that's again something we worked on, and it's enabled the guys to do just through the power of using the PIM. I guess one of the big things we talked about was, again, the discovery. Mm-hmm. So I know having the right facets at the right time as part of the journey, again, in each category, making sure the attributes are all there specifically for however customers are going to refine. A great example that Bensons have got is the colours. You guys work with a lot of different brands and manufacturers, right? Now, one brand might have like crimson red as a colour, another brand might have it as midnight red or something, but customers don't search and filter in that way, so we need a way of unifying that. So using technology like stuff like reference entities and Aquino really help with that, just to kind of group kind of those colourings, and there's other examples of that as well. Yeah.
And Graham, you had a constraint around promotional pricing, I think different kinds of promotions, and therefore being able to guide customers to those.
Yeah, exactly. So as I mentioned earlier, it's, you know, having the ability to ingest this. Now, this is something we didn't have against our products previously. It's like, what promotion is that product on at any one point in time? So being able to kind of bring that into the mix has allowed us then to create kind of canned URLs and canned categories that we can then drive customers to help make that kind of refinement experience or discovery experience a lot simpler and a lot more, in inverted commas, efficient.
Okay.
There's a couple of other things that
Yeah,
the Bensons team was struggling with previously as well. But the bed sets that these guys sell can be quite complicated. They come in lots of different variations, different storage combinations, different headboards you can get. Sizes. So the number of variations and complexity of constructing all that was always a challenge. And again, using the product model concept in Akenio has opened that up, and it's actually got around some limitations in the commerce platform in terms of the number of variations. So we've managed to intentionally increase that. So Benson's kind of got range expansion through this now. And also, like, the guys in the digital team now have got the kind of power to go and create new variations, new options, whereas before they were kind of limited in, they'd have to go to their IT team to go and get a new variant created, and it's kind of really empowered them. We talked about empowerment before, I think, in another session. It's really empowered that team to be more flexible and actually to be vary the range as they go forward.
Okay.
I mean, we used to have our merchandising team, we're essentially data enterers, right? Because the amount of time they used to spend just keying product information in. Now the work that we've done with Space and Akenio means actually a lot of that is taken away, and now we can focus the team on actually merchandising and actually driving out customer value from what they're doing. And it's just really changed the way that we kind of can approach how we merchandise and how we manage the site as well, which is really great from my perspective anyway.
It's also how you get more out of the existing tech that you've got. And, like the on-site search, for example, it means they can leverage that search in a much better way from like your merchandising rules, etc. So that enables so much more within the business as well. Again, think about the guys in store as well. Like, they can't possibly know that every single combination a bed can come in. So again, go back to your point about using the website. It enables that. Going back to the omni-channel piece, it enables the in-store guys as well.
Okay. And we've talked a lot about beds and the specifics about the physicality of the bed and the infrequency of the purchase and the price point and things. In terms of what our customers can take outside of the beds industry that would apply to them around approaching omni-channel, what would be the learnings that you guys would consider?
I mean, for me, the key thing is to kind of really be clear on what the role of each of your channels. First of all, understand what the key outcomes are for your sector and for your customers, right? So if you understand the problems that people are trying to solve or the problems that people have, then you can start to think about, right, how do we solve those problems? And then as part of that, just be really, really clear about what role each channel plays in that journey. If the website is there to transact, then that's its role, right? If the website is there for research, then that's its role, and therefore you start to think about it. Quite often people talk about Omni-channel and they put pictures on the wall with all these arrows kind of like joining together, and it's like, no, that's not it, right? What you're trying to do here is you're trying to help customers buy and solve that problem, which is, I want a better night's sleep, right? So think about the role of each channel in those buying journeys. And then I think, again, that kind of continuing on from that is then where there are the touch points or the handoffs, really optimize to make that as seamless and as smooth as possible. So the video is a good example, right? There's a handoff there between the web and a store, but it's 2 clicks. You don't have to book an appointment. We don't have to organize colleagues in store to be available at a set time. You literally just hit, if it's green, call, you're through. And it's really kind of smooth, and that's what makes it work. And then I think the final thing would be sort of really think about, from a product point of view, like what is, and this sounds obvious, but what is it that people are going to want to find out about that product? So to Pete's point, like, don't present colours that are like Benson's purple and Akenio purple, right? We share the same brand colour. So do Cadbury's, but we'll get there. It's purple to a customer. All they see is purple. So really make it easy for customers to find that purple bed or purple headboard. And then, like I say, you join in kind of all those 3 bits together, you should be in a pretty good place.
Perfect. Pete?
I guess one learning I've got specifically to Omni-channel is that, specifically around the construction of the PIM, is like, build it with flexibility in mind. Don't build it agnostically, not specifically for like one channel. We talked about consistency before, but you can create different product experiences within the PIM, but construct in a way that it's flexible. It's not just set for like, we're just going to sell purely for online. You can open it up, and ultimately it's to sell better, faster, and everywhere. So.
Oh, thanks, Pete.
35 seconds to go.
Yeah, we got 30 seconds. Let me. Right. I appreciate that, guys. The key takeouts, which these guys have very neatly summed up for us, are in omni-channel world, it's not about the same everywhere. It's about understanding the role from your customer's perspective. What are they expecting in a channel? But also, what are your objectives as a business in that channel? Where do you need to get the customer to? that it's about joined up, so it's not about identical everywhere, it's about those handoffs, and those handoffs are website to a store in the way that Bensons are driving their customers, but it's also when you're in the store, the conversation that happens at the bed also then happens at the till, and finally the point around flexibility. So yes, you can build a way of working with channels and product now, but your ranges will want to change and your customers' expectations will change. So you want to move that over time as well. Graham, Pete, many thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us.